Hello, all you freedom-loving people. The big, beautiful bill passed the House, Harvard lost its foreign students, and Doge said that 3 of the illegal migrants who voted in 2024 have already been arrested. Okay, let's get into it. The House passed President Trump's tax reform bill, known as the One Big Beautiful Bill, early this morning. It passed critical procedural thresholds by a vote of 215 to 214 after an all-night debate in the lower chamber. The One Big Beautiful Bill covers the extension of tax cuts, military expansion, welfare restrictions, and it raises the debt ceiling. But the Democrats are strongly opposed to the bill. They call it a tax scam, and they say that it will hurt low-income groups. Early Thursday morning, the House vote was a heated one with a mix of cheers and boos from members of both parties. The vote was conducted almost along party lines, with only one Republican fiscal hawk, Thomas Massie, joining the Democrats in opposing the bill's advancement to the floor. In an effort to garner party support, Republican leaders and the White House negotiated intensively late Wednesday night. This culminated in a set of amendments that were offered by House Speaker Mike Johnson. The package was designed to address conservative concerns about fiscal spending and to garner moderate support for the tax reform bill. The bill will also tighten eligibility restrictions for social welfare programs such as Medicaid and SNAP. Despite the fact that the bill has crossed the procedural voting threshold in the House, the Democratic Party still strongly opposes it, and they have proposed a number of motions to delay the voting. The bill was put to a final vote this morning. On Wednesday, a member of the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, said in an interview that the task force had discovered illegal immigrants who voted in U.S. elections. The information was announced by Antonio Gracias, who is an investor. His net worth is around $2.2 billion. He also founded Valor Equity Partners. Earlier this year, Gracias was tapped by Elon Musk to look into Social Security records and other government data. Talking about the findings on the All In podcast, Gracias responded to a question about whether DOGE discovered that illegal immigrants were registered to vote in U.S. elections. He said, yes, this is actually true. We have found illegal immigrants who actually voted. We already had 3 arrests in Florida and 1 indictment. He explained that those people were able to register because they were given Social Security numbers. Gracia said, referring to their findings, "My opinion is that this is the tip of the iceberg. How big the iceberg is, I don't know." President Trump said on Wednesday night that he is seriously considering taking mortgage giants Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac public. President Trump wrote on True Social, "I am giving very serious consideration to bringing Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac public. He will consult with cabinet members and he will make a decision in the near future." He also wrote, "Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac are doing very well, throwing off a lot of cash, and the time would seem to be right." Fannie and Freddie were placed under conservatorship in 2008, and the Federal Housing Finance Agency took control over the 2 mortgage giants during the 2008 liquidity crisis. Earlier this year, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said that any release of Fannie and Freddie from the conservatorship would depend on what that would mean for mortgage rates.
Is there anything that you can share on plans to when and how you would release Fannie and Freddie from conservatorship?
Right now, the priority is tax policy. Once we get through that, then we will think about that. The priority for a Fannie and Freddie release, the most important metric that I'm looking at is any study or hint that mortgage rates would go up. So anything that is done around a safe and sound release is going to hinge on the effect of long-term mortgage rates.
However, mortgage rates are currently persistently high. Some economists have warned that attempts to privatize Fannie Mae could upset the balance of the mortgage market, and it could make it even more expensive for Americans to borrow money to buy a home. And in other news regarding the Trump administration, the Department of Homeland Security, the DHS, has revoked Harvard's Student and Exchange Visitor Program. The decision prohibits Harvard from enrolling international students. DHS Secretary Kristi Noem wrote on X on Thursday, "This administration is holding Harvard accountable for fostering violence, anti-Semitism, and coordinating with the Chinese Communist Party on its campus. Harvard had plenty of opportunity to do the right thing. It refused. They have lost their student and exchange visitor program certification as a result of their failure to adhere to the law. The revocation also means that existing foreign students must transfer to another school or lose their legal status. Noam's statement also said that many of the agitators who harassed Jewish students, who hosted and trained members of the CCP, and who were complicit in the Uyghur genocide were from other nations. The messaging platform Telemessage was hacked this month, and messages from more than 60 U.S. government officials were leaked. Former Trump National Security Advisor Mike Waltz also uses Telemessage. This has raised doubts about the security of the Trump administration's data. More than 60 unique government users of Telemessage were identified in a cache of leaked data that was provided by Distributed Denial of Secrets, which is a U.S. nonprofit organization. These government officials include disaster responders, customs officials, diplomats, White House staff, and Secret Service members. These messages were reviewed by Reuters. The messages covered a roughly day-long period of time ending on May 4th. Reuters has confirmed that some of the leaked messages are authentic. While no chat logs were found from Mike Waltz or other Trump administration cabinet officials, some of the leaked messages did relate to the activities and travel plans of senior officials. For example, activities at the Vatican and a trip to Jordan. Telemessage was previously little known outside of government and financial circles until it caught the media's attention after an April 30th Reuters photo that showed Mike Waltz during a cabinet meeting checking out Signal. Signal is a privacy app that is a version of Telemessage. Telemessage produces modified versions of Signal, WhatsApp, Telegram, and WeChat for centralized archiving of messages. On May 4th, Telemessage's servers were hacked twice by 5 different hackers. One of the hackers had boasted that it took him less than 20 minutes to breach Telemessage's servers. But even the most sophisticated hacker pales in comparison to the abuse of power by a totalitarian government. According to Hong Kong's South China Morning Post, at the 12th China International Police Equipment Expo, which ended just last week, many surveillance devices related to artificial intelligence technology were on display. At the show, the Third Research Institute of the Ministry of Public Security of the CCP demonstrated a tool that can monitor Telegram. The tool has reportedly collected more than 30 billion messages and monitored 70 million Telegram accounts, as well as 390,000 public channels and groups. The agency's promotional video shows how group chats can be monitored by logging into Telegram through a compromised Chinese cell phone number. The Institute also exhibited software for multidimensional intelligence analysis of individual extremist behavior. According to the Institute, it has developed AI models that analyze shopping records, search history, and social media posts to identify people that the government considers to be at high risk. These are generally dissidents who are unhappy with government policies rather than actual violent criminals. You may wonder how the CCP government can openly admit and show such a dirty way of monitoring people's speech and thought. It's because, after 100 years of brainwashing by the CCP, the Chinese people nowadays do not know what the people's power really is. They think that it's normal for the people to obey the government and that it's okay to be monitored by the government. There are also companies that claim that their tools can monitor the use of police equipment, in particular internet access, and they can quickly detect the illegal release, distribution, transmission, storage, or processing of what they call classified information. The classified information referred to by the Chinese Communist government is different from what we understand. The scope of classified information is very wide. For example, news of strikes in a certain place, or news about young people having difficulty in finding jobs, or the poor quality of school lunches, and so on. All such news that arouse public discontent will be defined as classified information. In addition, a tech company demonstrated a tool that automatically detects VPN usage by the public. China's internet seems to be very developed, but it's not even connected to the rest of the world. Only information that has been filtered by the Chinese government can be seen by the Chinese people because of the Great Internet Firewall. Therefore, in order for Chinese people to see the real world, they have to use a VPN, which is considered a criminal offense in China. Mr. Li, a Chinese software engineer, told Newtong Dynasty that using a VPN in China is risky. Some VPNs may have been originally designed as phishing software by the Chinese Communist Party's state security or public security, and some unofficial VPNs are also unsafe. Private technology companies in China will develop software to sell to the CCP for profit. Then the CCP will use all technological means to monitor the population. Mr. Li said that Telegram was doing well, but then it was infiltrated by the CCP in order to enter the Chinese market. On Wednesday, the TikTok shop notified its U.S. employees to work from home in anticipation of upcoming operational and personnel changes. The arrangement is widely seen as a sign that a new round of layoffs is on the horizon. The adjustments are expected to impact employees who work in U.S. operations and global key accounts, and early on Wednesday morning, a number of employees were notified that their positions had been affected. The exact number of layoffs is not yet known, however. TikTok shop said that it was making the changes after careful analysis of how to create more efficient operating models for the team's long-term growth. This is according to the memo that was sent by Mu Qing, an e-commerce executive. It is understood that this is not the first time TikTok personnel have made adjustments this year. In April of this year, the company just laid off part of its e-commerce governance and user experience team. The decision to lay off employees is considered to be a further structural optimization measure following the layoffs in April. TikTok's e-commerce in the U.S. is under pressure. Several employees told Business Insider that sales of products from overseas sellers, mostly from China, have declined significantly since the end of March, and that the new U.S. tariffs implemented in April were cited as one of the main reasons. Coupled with general economic uncertainty, their U.S. business was off to a bad start in 2025. Over the past year and a half, TikTok has made frequent changes to its management structure, with some key positions being transferred to executives from China and Singapore, particularly in the e-commerce business. Mu Qing, who sent out the memo to the staff, took over the U.S. operations of TikTok Shop last month. He previously worked for ByteDance's Chinese TikTok e-commerce. The future of TikTok in the U.S. remains uncertain. Under the divestiture ban law, TikTok's parent company ByteDance has until June 19th to divest itself of majority ownership of the U.S. version of TikTok. Despite President Trump's recent remarks that he has warm feelings for TikTok, TikTok is still at risk of being banned in the U.S. if it fails to complete the deal by the deadline. On Wednesday, 2 members of the Israeli embassy in Washington were shot and killed as they were leaving an event at the Jewish Museum. Israeli Foreign Minister Gideon Sa'ar identified the victims as Yaron Lashinsky and Sarah Milgram. Lashinsky was a research assistant, and Milgram organized visits and missions to Israel. According to the Israeli ambassador to the U.S., the victims were a young couple who were about to be engaged and married. The suspect was identified as Elias Rodriguez, who is from Chicago. Witnesses described Rodriguez. They said that he was pacing back and forth outside the museum cocktail reception. Then he approached a group of people that included Lashinsky and Milgram. Then he shot them up close with a handgun. Moments later, he casually walked into the museum. Apparently, Rodriguez was allowed inside by well-meaning security guards because they assumed that he was a victim. So Rodriguez walked into the museum, but he was then later detained by security. He was chanting Free Palestine, when taken into custody. Rodriguez is allegedly a far-left activist. It is alleged that he has worked as an oral history researcher on African American communities, and that he participated in anti-capitalist demonstrations, and that he was a member of a party for socialism and liberation. Images circulating on social media appear to show Rodriguez at a Black Lives Matter protest in 2017 on the 3-year anniversary of the police shooting of Laquan McDonald in Chicago. Rodriguez is also believed to have been affiliated with a group called Party for Socialism. There is also an alleged manifesto written by Rodriguez. It was published online before the killings, and it called for an armed demonstration as a response to the genocide in Gaza. The deputy director of the FBI, Dan Bongino, said that early indicators suggest that the shooting was a targeted attack. Bongino also said that the FBI is aware of the alleged shooter's social media posts of an apparent manifesto. President Trump also reacted to the news and expressed his condolences to the families of the victims. He wrote on Truth Social, "These horrible DC killings, based obviously on anti-Semitism, must end now. Hatred and radicalism have no place in the USA." Attorney General Pam Bondi also posted on X that she was at the scene of the crime alongside U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro, who is the top prosecutor in the District of Columbia. Today was indeed a busy day for law enforcement officers. This is because there was another incident at the CIA headquarters in Virginia a couple of hours after the shooting in Washington, D.C. A woman who had failed to stop at the main gates of the CIA was shot in the upper body, and then she was taken to a medical facility. So far, there's no evidence that the two incidents are linked. Former high-ranking Ukrainian official was shot dead in front of the American school on the outskirts of Madrid, Spain on Wednesday morning. Police identified the victim as Andrei Portnov, who was 51. He was a former senior advisor to Ukraine's pro-Russian former president Viktor Yanukovych. Spanish police reported that the incident took place at around 3:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Portnov was shot in the back and head as he prepared to get into his car, and the killers then fled into a nearby forest. When police arrived, he was lying next to a black Mercedes showing no signs of life. Portnov had been closely tied to Ukraine's pro-Russian former leader Yanukovych. He was the deputy head of the Ukrainian president's office, and he was a member of the National Bank's board of directors. During Yanukovych's time in power, Portnov led the judicial reforms. Yanukovych was ousted from power in 2014 after massive protests broke out in Ukraine. Portnov went into exile into Russia with him. In 2019, Portnov briefly returned to the United States, and in 2021, he was placed on the Magnitsky sanctions list by the U.S. Department of Treasury for his manipulation of the judicial system and for alleged bribery. Canada also froze his assets back in 2014. At the moment, neither the Ministry of Foreign Affairs nor the President's Office of Ukraine has made a statement on this case. In recent years, there have been a number of violent incidents in Spain related to the Russia-Ukraine conflict. In 2022, the Ukrainian embassy in Madrid received a bomb in the mail. And in 2024, a Russian pilot who had defected to Ukraine was shot dead in Spain. As for the assassination of Portnov, Spanish police are still investigating and have not released the identity of the suspects or their motives. So, is there a deeper political agenda behind this case? We will continue to follow up. And that's a wrap for this episode. Thank you so much for your support of Front Page. Please remember to leave us a comment below the video. This is really helping us to be seen all around the world. The more people who watch Front Page, the more freedom-loving people the world will have. And please hit the like button and hit the notification bell after you subscribe. And please share this video with your friends and family because everybody deserves to know the truth.